1958 AD, 58:52 AM. 9,000 scientists from 43 nations petitioned the United Nations to ban testing of nuclear weapons. Strangely, a powerful broadcast is picked up by hundreds around the world, and people listen in awe for 2.5 hours as someone identifying himself as Nakoma from the planet Jupiter spoke about Earth's impending ruin by atomic destruction if testing of nuclear weapons was not discontinued. Nakoma spoke in perfect English, German, Norwegian, and a strange dark musical language. Curiously, this year's isometric year is 2038 AD, a major year involving nuclear detonations. IG Farben Company employed a Polish salesman who sold gas to the Germans during World War II. When Germany fell, this man fled and joined the Roman Catholic Church and was ordained a priest in 1946. In 1958, he was then ordained as Poland's youngest bishop, and in the same year he became Pope John Paul II. The Soviet spacecraft Sputnik 1 fell to Earth, and the National Aeronautics and Space Agency, NASA, is set up in the United States. The US Army launched Explorer 1 into orbit, the USA's first satellite, which discovered the Van Allen belts of radiation that encircles the planet. The atomic submarine of the US, the Nautilus, passed underneath the North Pole's ice cap. Kermit the Frog is born. 1. 20th century events. 2. Our haunted planet. 3. Behold a pale horse. 1959 AD. 58:53 AM. Alaska becomes the 49th state of the United States, Hawaii the 50th. The USSR launches Lunik 1 that flies past the moon and begins to orbit the sun. Lunik 2 is launched and it crashes on the moon. Lunik 3 is launched and it orbits the moon, taking the very first pictures humans have seen of the dark side of the moon. The Soviet vessel Vityaz discovered the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, the deepest place on Earth at almost 7 miles deep. Hopi Indian elders presented before the United Nations building in New York a 6-man delegation led by Dan Kachongva. These men uttered a series of Hopi prophecies. Buddy Holly died in a plane crash. 1. 20th century events. 3. The first Genesis. 1960 AD, 58:54 AM. The USSR shot down a United States U-2 spy plane over Russia in May, and then in August the pilot, Gary Powers, was convicted in a Russian court and sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. A flood in Bangladesh, India killed 6,000 people, and an earthquake killed 12,000 people in 15 seconds in Agadir, Morocco. In May, quakes in Chile, South America, killed 5,400 people. John F. Kennedy becomes the US President for the Democratic Party, the youngest president ever at 43. He is the 35th President of the USA. The Soviets launched the first weather satellite, the Tiros-1, and a Soviet spacecraft carrying 2 dogs orbits the Earth 17 times and returns safely to the surface. At Tura, India, was excavated the skeletal remains of a humanoid that stood over 11 foot tall with a metal cup. 1. 20th century events. 2. Elder gods in antiquity. 1961 AD. 58:55 AM. On April 12th, Russia put the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, for exactly 1 hour and 48 minutes, or 108 minutes, in the Soviet spacecraft Vostok 1. The USSR detonated its first hydrogen bomb, and the United States announced the resumption of its nuclear testing. In Britain, the largest Ban the Bomb rally ends with a violent clash with police, leading to 1,000 arrests. The CIA-backed Cuban revolt against Fidel Castro fails in the Bay of Pigs invasion, the US severing diplomatic relations with Cuba but occupying Guantanamo Base. Alan Shepard was first American in space in suborbital flight, 116 miles high in a Mercury space capsule. The Berlin Wall is erected by the Soviets to keep East Berliners from escaping into West Berlin, Germany. Iraq lays claim to the former British protectorate country of Kuwait. This is 30 years before Iraq invades Kuwait and is defeated in the Gulf War of 1991. In 1961, the British invade Kuwait. In September, the first modern alien abduction case involved Betty and Barney Hill, involving alien medical scientific procedures conducted on Betty Hill. This may have been preparatory staging for the alien abduction epidemic that started in 1962. However, in several ancient calendrical systems, the year began in late August, early September. The Western world's calendars began in January and in March. 1962 was the year of import to the Anunnaki. 1. 20th century events. 2. Wars that changed the world. 4. Sight unseen.